Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Toulis.
It occurred to me as I was talking to a woman named Gina Marie what the answer is. And here, David Toulis, the host, gets solutions from you, the listener of the David Toulis Show at 92.7 FM. She was telling me about her case being prosecuted for an assault that was alleged to have been done by her in a government office. As I'm recalling now, she was at one point in her life getting food stamps or having more connection with government than one would ordinarily or sanely desire, and was in a government office. And there was an altercation of some kind. I'm not remembering the detail, but there was a difference of opinion and some people standing up and getting very close to each other. And she ended up being accused criminally of assault and maybe disorderly conduct. And she had no attorney, did not have money for one, and had not been given one by assignment by the lower level judge. But she insisted on her rights to have a trial by jury. She insisted on being indicted. And I think she was. And the day before the trial began, still no attorney, but she was going to hold her ground. And the district attorney rep came to her and said, well, let's plea bargain, or are you going to go to trial? Well, she said, no, I'm going to trial the next day. Again, she was going to handle her own case in front of a jury, right? People like her, common people, ordinary people, wrenched from their lives by the summons, if you will, and put in judgment on her case. And the day of the trial, the next day, guess what happened? The prosecutor said, we're dismissing the case. In other words, we're not going to prosecute this case. Why? Why did the prosecutor not want to prosecute this case? Well, from the prosecutor's perspective, it was a nothing case. It was a nothing charge. It was going to be hard to prove, and it was just trouble. And so that the state, the good state, I believe Georgia, dropped the accusation. Now, what Gina Marie did is something that we're not supposed to do, right? We're not supposed to stand our ground, because it makes for government inefficiency. It makes for headache for government. Now, last year in Hamilton County, there was a grand jury report about a lone defendant who said no, and who put the grand jury and the legal system in a tizzy. So rarely do we have people of courage. So few brave and courageous free people do we have. So many do we have who are, I would say, slavish, right? Slavish, having a slave-like mentality, that for one man to stand his ground and do so without fear, and apparently his case dragging into the machinery of the justice system many other people who had to jump to the state's service to commence the prosecution. It made the note of the concurrent grand jury. This was last year, and it really caught my attention. I read concurrent grand jury reports. Usually they run about 6 pages when they're printed out from, let's say, Chattanooga.com. And the grand jury has it backwards. The grand jury, I'm afraid, just kind of has lost its way on what is justice and what is efficiency, because in the end they are contradictory. They do not go along together. And what I want you to think about, you, my listener, think about what Gina Marie did. She stood her ground, and the whole thing was dropped. She didn't have to enter a plea bargain. She refused to do that because she was not guilty of the charges. And she didn't have an attorney, but it didn't matter. She was going to do her own thing as best she could. And guess what? Her case was dropped. Though she still, she said yesterday, she has not expunged the accusations. Again, false accusations on the record, on Chattanooga Times Free Press Right to Know, they're still there as a blight and blot on her name. But no conviction and no agreement to accept an accusation so that other accusations will be dropped and we don't have to go to trial. Well, don't forget that the trial is a terrifying thing for you, but it's dreary, dull, burden, chore for them, right? So what was terrifying and scary for you is for them just dreary routine. And if your matter is not important enough for them, those good people, right, the good people in the DA's office will drop the matter. And so what she has put her finger on for me to see very clearly is saying no, just like that lone dissenter here in Hamilton County did. The concurrent grand jury said an example of inefficiency, right? An example of the way we don't want things to be, right? Was a case in which a defendant obviously refused to plead guilty to a charge in Sessions Court for whatever reason, right? Maybe it was just wrong. And by rule, the case was bound over to the grand jury. This required the arresting officer, in this case, the Tennessee Highway Patrol officer, to testify before the grand jury the charged violation of the seatbelt law. The report goes on to say that the highway officer was taken off duty to appear before the grand jury for less than 1 minute. In total, more than 17 persons were involved in the testimony directly and many more indirectly. So I don't know how that's possible, but one man said no. One man said, I'm not going to play along. I'm not plea bargaining. The concurrent grand jury said last year, this was an expensive proposition at great expense to the taxpayer. Well, it's always that way, right? The grand jury, forgetting its job, is just to defend us, the people, and make things inefficient for government, right? The purpose of the legal system is to be inefficient. Why? To create drag and friction. Why? So that rights are protected, so that innocent people are not falsely accused, too facilely accused, too easily charged, too readily have the pointed finger against them by the cop or by the district attorney. The goal of the legal system is to make it difficult to accuse someone criminally, to make it difficult, expensive, and troublesome for the machinery, right? The judicial industrial complex and all the good people who work in it, who have their sinecure, who have their fees paid, their light bills paid by causing trouble and anxiety to people who are often falsely accused and who are not needing that trouble and not needing that expense. Some of whom are too poor to pay their way out of the county jail pending trial, right? They're too poor to make the bond. And so we have 2/3 of the people in the jail, more or less, today who have not been convicted and they're in jail. Why is that? What are you going to do about it? Well, I think one thing we can do about it is not expect, a candidate for office to say something about it, or the governor to do anything about it, or Jim Coppinger, the county mayor, to do anything about it. They can't. Neither can Mayor Burke. The answer is you, my listener, individually, one person at a time. And in a nutshell, the answer is saying no and not cooperating. Because when we cooperate, we do something against our own interest repeatedly. And if we what I think I have put my finger on it, thanks to Gina Marie, how to see our situation and how we can bring justice finally to Hamilton County. And if we can't bring justice directly, then we can reduce injustice. And I think we have to work on both sides, reducing injustice by clogging the system and fighting for outright justice. And fighting for outright justice would be understanding what the problem is. And that, of course, is a great work that I can't do here. It should be taking place in the Christian church, which has the standard for justice, right? It has the Bible. It has the 10 Commandments, the basis of equity, the basis of all justice is the 10 Commandments. That's a summary of God's holy character and God's standard for society. And there we can understand that, well, prisons have no place in a just society, right? That if there is a bond to be paid of someone facing trial, well, that's because the trial is 3 days out, right? 4 days out. It's not months out and the person's too poor to pay. That system is not just. It is not just to take a man or a woman away from family, employment, business, necessaries, because that person may not show up for court. That's what the bonding system is all about. It's a racket. It is a state-based racket. And you, my listener, have a solution to it. And again, the problem is the solution is it is indirect. Okay, we can't solve things directly. No one in authority up high up is going to say this is wrong, we're going to change it. It doesn't work that way. We have to work, you might say, on the theory of obliquity. In other words, coming at things indirectly rather than directly. They can't be solved directly, but we can solve them personally and individually, one tiny fleck at a time, one tiny speck at a time. And this is David Toulis, and we are at 92.7 Nooga Radio. Love your neighbor and buy local. That's my slogan. Brought to you by Nooganomics.com. How do we fight back? And I want to make it as concise as I can. And I mentioned that one man complained about by the grand jury. And the solution is make it inefficient for them. Make it inefficient for them by saying no. Look at Gina Marie. She said, no, I didn't do it. And I don't have an attorney, but I'm going to fight myself. She didn't know how to. I mean, think of that poor woman. She had children, terrified of the court, terrified of being in a strange, environment. And she said, no, I did not do that. And I'm not agreeing to anything, period. She did not have a slavish mentality. She had the mentality and the heart and the spirit of a free woman. And how many people don't have that? I think people, maybe like you, my listener, need examples like Gina Marie. You need examples, and you need examples like the man mentioned, unnamed, in the dissenter in Hamilton County. The grand jury, having forgotten its role. The grand jury should be all about making the system less efficient so that policing will get fewer and fewer people. That's what we want. Crime is at an all-time low. Why do we have such numbers? And why? Because we have a system of corporation courts, sessions court and city court, which allow the system to be efficient. Those courts, you should never go in those courts, ever. They are designed to abuse you. They're designed to have you comply and agree. Most criminal cases are plea bargains, right? Well, how is that? How is it that 97 or 98% of cases are plea bargain? Do not cops have to do their job? Do not prosecutors have to do their job? Do not judges have to do their job? No. Now, if you don't do your job defending yourself and maintaining your innocence, they don't have to do their job. And so what happens is that you and people like you, thousands of people like you who get caught up in this evil system, subsidize the growth industry of policing. You, my listener, and people like you who cooperate, who comply, who agree to plead guilty. You, by your action, your individual action, subsidize the police growth industry. Think about it for a second. If you said no, and the person next to you in that bench there in the sessions court said no, and the woman down two people down said no, and the young college student on down past her said no, and the overweight man of color in his 70s said no, and then the single mom there, she's fretting over childcare because she really doesn't have time to be in this court. She says no. Well, what happens is this. Maybe you can tell me. Call me 800-8949, 800-8949. Tell me what will happen to efficiency and centralization if these people on the row there in sessions court, in city court, say, no, I'm not agreeing. No, not doing it. I didn't do it. Prove your case. You have the burden of proof. You, the accuser. You, the Fellowship of the Finger. Neil Pinkston in Hamilton County and the cops. You have the duty. You have the burden of proof. Prove it. Show me what you've got. Often they don't have much. Often these people have not much. And if you say yes, you subsidize their enforcement activity. Number one. Number two, you subsidize and encourage careless, feckless, pointless, causeless, proofless accusations that make the system bulge. And this is David Toulis. And caller, you're live on the David Toulis Show. What is on your mind?
I agree with you, David. The only reason we go to those courts is to get comfortable in making arguments. In the 70s, I would purposely get tickets me so I can emulate that against them. And then getting comfortable in the courtroom. You get in there, you get a comfort court, you understand the setup. If you're going to fight the system, you have to start somewhere. So, yeah, kangaroo court is where you get the feel for that. But I agree with you, because if everyone were to say, no, I'm not going to do it, then they would have to focus on real crimes. I call it the law enforcement growth industry. They could no longer focus on pretended crimes. If everyone said, no, we're going to trial, I want an indictment, I want a trial, I want an indictment, they would be so bogged down, they would have to focus on real crimes. You're right.
And they would say, we have only so many resources, Mike, to steward. Let's not waste them on accusing someone just because that person asked us a question, or that person raised their voice to us, or called us a pig, something like that. Someone who's arrested for vengeance sake.
You know what the absurdity of the whole system is, David? Even civilly, you no longer get a speedy trial because we have the same amount of courts as we had 100 years ago, with many, many more people, many, many more problems. The system cannot handle it. It cannot handle the weight of the cases before them. That's one of the reasons they do what they do. The Supreme Court basically called it a cattle call. In Philadelphia, when they were putting people through traffic court, the Supreme Court overturned a lot of what they did because they called them cattle calls, not courts of law.
Right. There are courts of convenience. There are courts that allow the system, especially at the outward reaches, that is to say, at the furthest point of contact with the public, that is to say, police and sheriff deputies, their activity of bringing people in, often on very slight pretext, often without probable cause, often with, and many times cops do it out of anger and spite. They have, like vengeance arrests. There's a whole phenomenon of vengeance arrest, and the Rutherford Institute is taken.
It's not even courts of law; they're courts of equity. I mean, I'm familiar with a person that's, trying to get child support for many years, over $8,000 due. I went with them a couple of times. They've given up because when you go there in the civil system, you can never get before a judge. You're always given to an administrator, or they promise you to go before a judge. Then the party doesn't show up. They don't penalize them. They pass it. They pass it on and on and on and on and on. The system is so broken, it's sad. It's just sad.
Listen, Mike, thanks very much for calling. This is David Toulis, and we are at 92.7 FM, local economy, the free market. And how do we? Let me give you the idea. I think that might be helpful to you, my listener. And the number again is 800-8949, 800-8949. Think about this. If you're accused, view yourself in a representative capacity. And that will help you understand that, especially if we can talk about your situation, okay? And that's why I do want you to call me, and I do want you to let me write about your situation, because if I write about it, not only are you helped by that process of talking with me, but other people can learn from you and your mistakes and what you're doing right. And like Hanson Melvin last year, he got a settlement this year from the city and for a false arrest. And what in being my subject to write about, he got the right ideas and he stood his ground. He said, go ahead and indict me. I'm not pleading with anybody in Sessions Court. And he stood his ground. False indictment, perjured cop. The cop got away with crime, 2 crimes, one a misdemeanor and one a felony. He got away with it. Neil Pinkston did not prosecute him. These are clear crimes brought to the Pinkston's attention by me. And the internal affairs investigation and the lawsuit. The whole thing was not just employment violations by the Chattanooga police officer. It was a crime, and the crime. There's another crime of not doing anything about it. That's called misprision of felony, and that's what the establishment in Chattanooga does. It has misprisons of felony. That is an actual offense when you conceal and do not act upon a crime that you have authority or duty to act upon. Now, again, the idea, let me see if I can put this in a concise way for you, okay? You are a representative of your people, okay, or your family, and you cannot accept a false charge. So you do not plea bargain. You say, indict me. And remembering that an indictment is a right. It's not a thing to terrorize you. It is a right. It is a protection to have your case go before the grand jury. It is intended to be a protection. And if you are a representative, particularly if you are a minority, if you are an African American, if you are Hispanic, you have a background, you have a slavish background, okay? You have a slavish history, a history of slavery, okay? That means you have a history in servitude and chattel slavery, and you're still under it. There is a change in the administration of American slavery from the private property owner, white, to the system. The system, especially policing, is about the maintenance of the slave institution, and that is my honest free market constitutional analysis. And if you have a view that you represent your people and you're going to say no, you create a ripple effect into the future, benefiting other people. That, I think, is the main concept. You have a representative capacity. That's what gave courage to Hanson Milton. That's what gives courage to Constance Giles in Wicklow County, facing assault, prosecution, and abusive arrest so bad that her complaints in the press, that is, to me, helped bring a GBI investigation of her abusive arrest in Wicklow County. David Toulis, there's more on this topic. Just hang on.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news. Now.
Police say a young man who had just turned 17 fought them as they tried to cuff him. Officers say Tyree Benford and another juvenile broke into a home on East 48th Street, making off with TVs, Xboxes, and a laptop. Police were able to track down the suspects in the stolen property, but Mr. Benford wasn't going down without a fight. He eventually ended up headfirst into an anthill and was later treated for an allergic reaction to the bites. 3 people were shot just outside Cleveland State Community College. Police confirmed a 16-year-old suspect was arrested Wednesday night, charged with aggravated assault and attempted second-degree murder. Police spokeswoman Evie West said the 3 victims taken to the hospital, the severity of their injuries are not confirmed. And the state of Georgia saw an explosion of registered voters following the close of the window to register. There are now nearly 7 million registered voters in the state. Val St. John for Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News Now.
Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM.
Cash, and more cash. Get 8.1% return on your money. Rick Davis can turn your cash into real money. Gold and silver bullion. American Eagle Gold. The banks give you a measly 1.9%. At Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, you'll get 8.1% return on your money. 8.1% return on your money. Wow! Whether you're buying an ounce or 100 ounces, Rick guarantees it in writing. 8.1% Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road, Chattanooga.
Let's face it, Old Faithful isn't as faithful as it used to be. Constant repairs are a hassle and can rack up quick in money and time. Landers McClarty Ford can fix that. Right now, you can get a 2016 Ford Focus, 34,000 miles, only $11,491. A 2017 Chevy Spark with only 17,000 miles for less than $12,000. A 2015 Volkswagen Jetta with less than 21,000 miles for $11,991. Yeah, browse their entire inventory of new and new-to-you cars, trucks, and SUVs online at LandersMcCartyFord@FortPayne.com. Landers McClarty Ford of Fort Payne. If you can't find your next perfect ride, they'll go find it for you. Big city selection, small town prices, friendly service, and top dollar for your trade. The savings are waiting and only a short drive away, so what are you waiting for? Get started with your personalized shopping today at Landers McClarty Ford of FortPayne.com.
Join Nooga Radio and the Gridiron Gang live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks at 10 North on the North Shore. We're talking all things high school football. There's a specialty brew or refresher weekly inspired by the game of the week. Sweet treats, extended hours all season long, and we're pet friendly. Portions of all proceeds support local schools and educational scholarships as well as after-school programs. It's football time in Tennessee. Join us every Thursday live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks, 10 North, your North Shore neighborhood living room.
Your home is a constant work in progress. Repaint the walls? Yeah, easy enough. Leaky faucet? There's a video for that. But roof repair? You might want some help. That's where Chattanooga Roofing Contractors come in. They have 3 generations of roofing excellence you can count on. Leave the ladder in the garage. Go to chatroofing.com. That's chatroofing.com for Chattanooga Roofing Contractors, a roofing company you can trust.
I'm Bo Watson, and I approve this ad.
Hi, I'm Nicole Watson. You may know my husband, Bo Watson. And beginning October 17th, you and I can go to the polls and begin early voting in Tennessee. When you vote, I ask that you elect the one person that believes in a better Tennessee. Bo has a plan of making jobs, education, and safety a priority for all of us. I ask for your vote to re-elect Bo Watson for State Senate.
Paid for by friends of Bo Watson, Boy W. Watson III, Treasurer, VoteForTennessee.com.
Man, you sure you know what you're doing?
Yeah, I worked with my dad on his truck all the time. Just one more bolt to go.
Yeah, wrong bolt. Today's truck ain't your daddy's truck. For repairs on today's vehicles, you need Amco Transmission and Total Car Care of Chattanooga on Lee Highway. Stay on the road, not in the garage. Amco Transmission on Lee Highway. Get it done the right way, the Thompson Petway way. Yeah, I just put that in.
Join We've Got You Covered with Scott Schrader every Saturday from 10 to 11 on Nuga Radio. From finance to fixtures, we discuss everything you need to know about buying or owning a home, the pitfalls, the perks, and everything in between. Saturday mornings, 10 to 12, right here on Nuga Radio.
Nuga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
Expect breezy but drier weather out there for your afternoon. Decreasing clouds will give way to some sunshine. Highs into the lower 70s. Tonight, clear, chilly. Overnight lows mid and upper 40s. For Friday, lots of sun. Beautiful highs upper 60s. Looking good for Saturday as well. Get ready for the Wings Over North Georgia Air Show this weekend at the Russell Regional Airport in Rome, featuring the U.S. Air Force F-22 Raptor and A-10 Warthog. For tickets, wingsovernorthgeorgia.com. And I'm SOAR Gene 12, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ford.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Toulis.
So that it becomes less unjust and maybe more just. I think top-down reforms are important and we should want them. I think not enough people really know what is justice. They don't really understand equity and what equity is. Well, it comes from the Bible. It comes from God's concept of just response for wrongs. And it's called lex talionis, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, nail for nail, stripe for stripe, wound for wound, burn for burn. That's what that means, right? If there's a wrong in the way of a stripe, well, the compensation needs to be a stripe. It is equal, and if the perpetrator doesn't want to get a stripe in return, well, then there is a negotiation process to determine what a stripe is worth to him, right? The man who wants to avoid the stripe, he can pay to avoid the stripe. What is the stripe worth to you? Okay, that's the question. Is it worth $500? Is it worth $1,500? What, you either get a stripe or you have to pay, making something right so that the victim is satisfied. That is what equity is all about. And top-down reform is it can come, and there's growing pressure for it. For example, cash bail reform. There is a signature in California that ended the cash bail system there. There is a movement here in Chattanooga for an event on the 18th of October. Just to mention it, by the way, it is the Community Bail Fund Project that will be meeting at 6:30 on the 18th. That is to say, 2 Thursdays out. And the question is, we have an evil system that is an evil practice that is partly warranted in the Constitution, but has become a system that no one knows where it comes from or why it is the way it is. It just is, and this is how we do things. And we have these set schedules for bonds and so on, and people are in jail who don't need to be there. And the pressure is so great. There's so much policing going on, so much sheriffing going on in our county and here in Chattanooga that there's talk about building another jail or adding to Silverdale, the slave quarters at Silverdale, where people are kept for up to a year punitively, punitive carceration or carceral slavery. You could say that's what we have in Helena County. It is a form of slavery it's legal. It's legal and it's constitutional, and we have that in our Bill of Rights. We have slavery in our Bill of Rights, the ban on private slavery, and the creation of state slavery for those duly convicted of their crimes. Now, how do we stop this system? How do we push it back? We can't. You can't do anything about it yourself. Neither can I. And yet I think if you and one other person have in your mind a set of ideas that will encourage you toward liberty and away from slavishness, we are on the way to a more just and better society, and in fact, a richer society. If we have less injustice in Chattanooga and Hamilton County and in points beyond, we are going to be more prosperous, because capitalism is encouraged and is based on property rights, right? And courts that are unjust and state activities, state interventions, the marketplace that are unjust and arbitrary and capricious reduce the capital base. They reduce the capital prospect, especially among people who need it the most. That would be, I would say, blacks. That would be immigrants, newcomers, aliens and strangers, orphans and widows, people who are protected classes in the Bible. Those are aliens and strangers and the poor are protected. They have a special protection. Justice is not blind. The whole idea of justice holding the scale, Lady Justice holding the scale with a blindfold on, that is not how God works. He doesn't work that way. While the law is to be one for all, he has a special care, and the Bible is redundant to the point of ad nauseum on those for whom he has special care and consideration. That would be the poor, the orphan and the widow, and the stranger. That's it. Those are the four categories. And justice is not blind. Justice has to be always in regard to them. Why? Because they are always the first victims when justice is ignored, when lex talionis is rejected by the church and by everybody else. And they are the ones who are ground to powder in the what we call judicial industrial complex. By the way, make sure you take time out tomorrow. Tomorrow is the start of a great event down in Rome, Georgia, Wings Over North Georgia. Saturday and Sunday, I think Media Day is tomorrow, but it's a great air show. Military aircraft. There's a Warthog on site, Huey helicopter, Cobra helicopter, and many other things. Amazing aircraft, colorful characters in the airfield business. The tickets are at wingsovernorthgeorgia.com, wingsovernorthgeorgia.com. And we'll be there, of course, and live on Facebook, also live here on Nuga Radio 92.7 FM. My name is David Tulish. We're live on Facebook and Nuga Radio, and also live on your TV. If you have a maiden aunt who is still not married at age 70, but loves local news, gets the newspaper, print edition, she may want to watch my show live on Facebook. And also, we have an unbroken stream of all of our live shows on YouTube on our late model television set, the one that you gave her a couple years ago. There is a YouTube channel. We are on that channel, and she should tune in to the David Tulish Show. I think Facebook is better because I'm looking right at you, okay? And this is very personal. I'm looking at you there on Facebook, also on the Nuganomics Facebook page. We are still on Facebook. Facebook is, of course, a fading platform. We are ready to get off of it. Just tired of it. Tired of all the censorship. Tired of the manipulation. You can see the manipulation in the way you're fed stuff. It's just you can't find people that you follow people. You can't see anything from them. You know, it's not fair anymore. It's just not practical. Not really useful anymore. So the question about liberty and prosperity is, what can we do? And I think the main idea is this: just say no, right? And that would be from the beginning of your encounter with the good person in blue with all the armor plate and all the guns and perhaps the belligerent voice, maybe less belligerent voices here than elsewhere, since we have a mildness influenced by Chief David Roddy. He is encouraging that, but the system is still rigged against you. Right. And there are reforms that are required by law that have to take place in practice. But there are also other reforms that arise from policy, from the mayor's office, and maybe policy from forward-thinking members of city council, such as Demetrius Coonrod, whom I would suggest she could lead. She could lead some reforms, minor reforms, like the requirement of every city officer to have a $5 million bond paid for by out of his own wealth, right? Paid for out of his own payroll, not subsidized, but his own bond, and making any use of the F word or derivatives thereof a firing offense in Chattanooga. And Red Bank has some very foul-mouthed officers, as we know from the Gallery case, the Gallery police caused riot case. We had profanity and obscenities uttered by police officers. That's a firing offense. That should not be tolerated. Period. And the D word, the S word, I would say those are words that should be a firing offense, no matter how great the investment in that officer is. So getting back to the question, though, unless of course you want to change the topic, I mean, you can certainly do that here on the David Tullis Show. The number is 800-8949. That's 800-8949. You report, right? You report with your smartphone, which is a powerful, powerful media and press platform. We're all members of the press now, right? And we all have constitutional protection for our recording activities. If you have a smartphone, you effectively work with me, right? Not for me, with me. You and David Tullis work together. Work with me and let us bring to light things that should not be kept secret, or should not be kept merely to personal knowledge of the cop or two and the victim, right? We need to have it all out there in the open. And also, we want as I've asked the police department for favorable reports of officers who have done the right thing. I want reports from Chief Roddy's department of officers who have gone out of their way, because as they remember, a cop is simply a citizen on patrol. That's all he is. He's just like you and me, a citizen on patrol. We have the problem of professionalization, however, but still, that is what he is, a citizen on patrol. And how are these men and women doing good, right? How are they refraining from violence? How are they using reform concepts like de-escalation, the use of space, time, and cover, right? The 3 points of reform are space, time, and cover. Use those and avoid killing people, avoid executing people, avoid electrocuting people to death sometimes, avoid damaging testicles and the like. That is what we want to have. Avoid beating people, throwing them to the ground, pulling them out of cars, right? Breaking windows. We don't want that. That cannot happen here. And that is thanks to David Roddy being there. Okay? He's working on that, but there are things that are cultural, that are hard to change, even from the best, mildest, most just officer at the top. And so what we want to do is to help things along, and that's where you and I come in. And I think what we want to do to bring justice about and to change the system, to make mildness come into administration, right? That is reflective, of course, of the way of humanity since since antiquity, when we had the most vulgar, violent empires that you could imagine. But there has been increasing mildness in the human condition, in its general trajectory, as God would have it, a general trajectory from judgment and wrath to peace and redemption. That is the course of mankind. Civilization is milder, the wars are shorter, the tyrannies and despotisms more short-lived, less certain, less survivable, and by some accounts, war itself has become obsolete. That is the analysis of Martin Van Creveld, whose work is it took me 20 years to get to his most important book. So I'm late in getting to that news, but it is something that bears repeating as if it were new, because I think for some people who are bleak in their assessment of the future, especially Baptist Christians, they have the most bleak view of the world, and things are getting worse and worse. Well, no, things are getting better and better. That is the fact. And there is a progress in humankind. And by the way, if you want to look at a story about that, go to Nuganomics.com, my sponsor here on the David Tullis Show, and there's a picture I put an essay I had written 5 years ago now on the front page of Nuganomics.com, and there is a remarkable photograph of a young man there. And the essay below is one of, or about, the whole idea of providence and the laws, the laws that we think govern wars, govern how things grow, govern the trajectory of bullets, for example, in a war. The laws of nature, right? Where does the ordaining hand come from? Read that essay, and it just came to mind to put it out there today, and maybe to mention it to you. And that's Nuganomics.com, our chief sponsor. Now, to get back, I digress. To get back to my point, though, how do we fight back? We fight back by making. By contradicting the policy of the state, which is its own convenience. The Constitution is a machine that makes the state expensive and difficult and and not easily run. Why? Because our rights are important. What has happened is that the state uses commercial government and it uses corporation courts, which is to say non-constitutional courts run by counties and cities, to not have to deal with the problem, the grave and serious problem that the state has. And do you know what that problem is? Your constitutional rights. Those are such a grievous offense to the idea of the modern state, the concept, the self-conception of the modern state, that it finds and has found a way around them. And that is called commercial government, and it's also called lesser corporation courts. These are non-constitutional courts where there is no jury. The judge is the trier of fact and the finder of fact and the trier of law. The officer is sort of the accuser in these criminal courts are always cops. The cop is there to accuse, with Neil Pinkston and his horde of state attorneys here in Helmut County. And that's the fact of that system is that in the efficiency of government, it allows itself to absorb far more than it can handle. That is why we don't have trials anymore in our courts. We have merely plea bargain arrangements. 98% of cases are not tried. And so there is in the gain of efficiency, there is a kind of gluttony. Now, the gluttony is the state looking out upon the people and taking in more of them than it can possibly consume, okay? There is a war in progress by the state, the modern welfare surveillance military state, against the people. It is traced in many authors, and in the libertarian and Christian Reconstructionist perspective, you can see it most clearly and most readily. Okay, in that work, in that literary work, you can see in that journalistic labor, you can see this problem most distinctly. But because the state is a kind of glutton, it wants on its plate more than it can consume. And so the state, by these lower courts and by commercial government, takes in, it rakes the people in, it rakes them in. People who are not sinners before God, they've not hurt anybody, they've not committed really any crime, but they're in the system. And if they're poor, they're filling the jails, creating a need for more jails, right? More policing, more bailiffs, more jailers, and more support staff. Of course, all for-profit industry like the ankle bracelet monitoring business, right? Just that one, for example. The bail bond industry. These are sort of cartels. They're kind of trusts, state-supported trusts that maintain their incomes based on suffering, and based on the need to provide the service, right, to the state. The gluttony is in this way: the state takes in more than it can take in by way of defendants, and so the plea bargain mill exists, and that is the public defender's office on one side and the prosecutor's office on the other side, working together to bring in more and more clients into the system, right? These are, of course, victims. Some of them are real criminals, no doubt. But many of the ones that I'm wanting you to think about are people like you. They're in there by mistake. You're a victim. You've been sucked in at a traffic stop, okay? And so that's the commercial government part of government growth industry, the traffic system. And the state can't possibly try everybody that it accuses. And so it helps you, makes you buy your way out. You buy your way out by pleading guilty, right? That's called a plea bargain mill. And so now you have a blot on your record. You're 20 years old. You have a theft on your record. You have a speeding on your record. No telling what else. You have a drug charge on your record. And they'll always be there, okay? Maybe some of these charges you can expunge, but that's another process. some of these charges you can't expunge. Okay. And so because the state is a glutton, it takes on more than it can handle legally and constitutionally. And so it runs this plea bargain mill. Most cases are plea bargained. People are blotted and blighted. Of course, if they're blotted and blighted, they need more state services, right? They need to have welfare. They can't get jobs, and so they're on the dole. The state is a self-perpetuating causer of crises, and then it solves these crises with more production, right? More output. Now, I'm thinking not, and I'm trying to get, I'm saying all this, and I'm kind of getting away from where I wanted to go. I want to tell you about how it is that you block the system. There was one of my favorite books is a history by Gary North. It's called Moses and Pharaoh. And there's a terrific discussion on page 287, 288 about a Russian dissenter named Vladimir Bukovsky. He was a dissident in the 60s and 70s against communist Marxism. Spent over a decade in the Gulag. And they finally spat him out. And they spat him out because he said no. And he did it in a very unusual way. He used the administrative system against itself. And that's what I'm proposing. That's what the lone dissenter in Hamilton County, a story you can read about at Nuganomics.com, did. He clogged the system by simply saying no. Now, Bukovsky he wasn't just saying no. He had an active campaign of aggression against the prison industrial complex of that state. He became an assembly line producer of official protest. Now, in the Soviet Union days, if a protest was written, it had to be answered by law within a certain amount of time. There were a series of deadlines that every protest had to meet. And so what Bukovsky did was become a producer of official protests and he taught hundreds of other inmates to follow his lead. They disrupted the whole Soviet bureaucracy. His camp clogged an entire system with protests. There were hundreds of them per day. And at one point, there were 75,000 active protests. And what he did was divide the labor among the inmates. So if each inmate wrote 10, 6 or 10 complaints a day, and then they all copied 6 or 7. You can have one cell producing maybe 100 complaints. And it's a great story, and I've got some important things to do. We're going to see this news coming up, and make sure you stay tuned to that, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes on this whole point of what the effect is of saying no. And I think the main point to remember is you represent your people, okay? Not just your family, but maybe your race, maybe your neighborhood, maybe your tribe. David Toole.
3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news. Now.
Police say a young man who had just turned 17 fought them as they tried to cuff him. Officers say Tyree Benford and another juvenile broke into a home on East 48th Street, making off with TVs, Xboxes, and a laptop. Police were able to track down the suspects in the stolen property, but Mr. Benford wasn't going down without a fight. He eventually ended up headfirst into an anthill and was later treated for an allergic reaction to the bites. 3 people were shot just outside Cleveland State Community College. Police confirmed a 16-year-old suspect was arrested Wednesday night, charged with aggravated assault and attempted second-degree murder. Police spokeswoman Evie West said the 3 victims taken to the hospital, the severity of their injuries are not confirmed. And the state of Georgia saw an explosion of registered voters following the close of the window to register. There are now nearly 7 million registered voters in the state. Val St. John for Nuga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News Now.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. on Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio 92.7. Nuga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
Expect breezy but drier weather out there for your afternoon. Decreasing clouds will give way to some sunshine. Highs into the lower 70s. Tonight, clear, chilly. Overnight lows mid and upper 40s. For Friday, lots of sun. Beautiful highs upper 60s. Looking good for Saturday as well. Get ready for the Wings Over North Georgia Air Show this weekend at the Russell Regional Airport in Rome, featuring the U.S. Air Force F-22 Raptor and A-10 Warthog. For tickets, wingsovernorthgeorgia.com. And I'm Swarjean Walsh, Chief Meteorologist, Patrick Ford.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Buying a home is one of the most exciting things you will ever do, but it can also be scary and nerve-wracking. I'm Melanie Moore, owner and certified master inspector with Full Disclosure Property Inspection. Let me help calm those nerves by putting my 37 plus years of experience in the construction and inspection industry to work for you, providing you a thorough, well-explained quality inspection to make sure this home of your dreams doesn't become your nightmare. Call me, Melanie Moore, at 255-1300 or find me online at fdhomeinspection.com.
My ex recently hacked my email and my social media, and it really caused me some problems. I changed all my passwords, which helped, but I'm still getting trolled, maybe even stalked. I know it's him. I just can't prove it.
My business, well, it's been broken into twice already. I've got cameras, but that only helps after the fact. I'd rather prevent it from happening in the first place.
Unity One East is your solution to these and many other security concerns. With private investigation, security services, and backed by decades of real-life experience in military and law enforcement, Unity One East is your instant contact for security, investigation, and consultation to help protect you, your family, and your business. No 1-800 number, no red tape, no wait, because Unity One East is local and available 24/7. Reclaim your peace of mind. Call Unity One East, 475-6206, 475-6206.
Call 423-875-3600 if you're looking to expand your professional look of your business. Then consider the vast opportunities that are available when you locate your office with the Raines Group family. Remember, it's location, 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 and the Raines Group has the location for your professional office. Check out the spaces for lease at Executive Business Park on the Lee Highway. Small or large, we will be able to suit your needs with the Raines Group. Call 423-875-3600 for the business professionals with the Raines Group.
Nuga Radio. Are you brain dead? Still voting for pathetic liberals? Take 3 hours of Sean Hannity from 3 to 6.
Nuga Radio.
Then call us in the morning between 9 and 11.
92.7
Nuga Radio.
Charge! Get back there, you dang Yankee! Great horny coats. I'm up north.
WPLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga.
Serving Chattanooga.
Broadcasting live from the center of the universe, the Tennessee Valley's most listened to news talk station.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by ZipRecruiter.
I'm Jim Shannaby. What's left of Hurricane Michael is a fast-moving tropical storm with 50-mile-per-hour sustained winds centered over the North Carolina-South Carolina border. And behind it, a path of destruction from wind and wet. Correspondent Omar Villafranca is in the Florida Panhandle.
After the eye wall passed Port St. Joe, those who rode out the storm emerged to find the town shredded by the hurricane.
Thank God we just turned take over in this house.
Boats were pushed on shore, trees snapped in half by 155-mile-per-hour winds. Power lines hung over roads, and cars were crunched together by up to 8 feet of storm surge.
As for those who did evacuate, some advice from Governor Rick Scott.
Do not try to travel home to a coastal county that was in the path of Hurricane Michael. It's not safe. Might not even be possible that you're going to be able to get there, and you could get in the way of law enforcement and rescue workers.
More from CBS's Nicole Killian.
The governor has said that he plans to make at least getting the power back on a priority, and we know that there are some 19,000 personnel that have been staged in advance of all this, and now some of those crews are starting to roll in. We did see a couple of power trucks roll through here throughout the day, so it's going to take time, and people are kind of prepared for that.
At least 2 deaths have been confirmed. NASA and the Russian Space Agency agree on one thing. It was the best possible outcome next to a successful flight because the crew survived. The Russian Soyuz capsule was forced to make a high-speed return to Earth after its booster rocket failed this morning. ISS operations manager Kenny Todd.
Our Russian colleagues, typically when they have a failure like this, they will stand up what's called a commission, and we expect that to be formed very soon, which will be tasked with trying to understand exactly what happened and what recovery efforts are needed in order to get flying again.
A judge in New York has, with no objection from prosecutors, dismissed one of the 6 criminal charges against former movie producer Harvey Weinstein, charges related to sex allegations made by Lucia Evans on assault in 2004. Her attorney, Carrie Goldberg.
The DA threw away Lucia's claims, but this says nothing about Weinstein's innocence. nor does it reflect on Lucia's consistent allegation that she was sexually assaulted with force by Harvey Weinstein.
A cost of living raise for people on Social Security. CBS's Wendy Gillette.
About 70 million recipients of Social Security and other retirees will start seeing higher monthly checks, about $39 extra, thanks to rising inflation. This is the highest increase in 7 years.
The Dow is down 183. This is CBS News.
ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified candidates for businesses of all sizes. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free.
It's time to find adventure on every drive. With Pennzoil Synthetics, you get complete protection for top engine performance. And between October 1st and November 30th, you'll get travel rewards to help you on your journey. With the purchase of any Pennzoil specialty motor oil change, you can earn up to $100 in travel reward credit. Save on hotels, rental cars, and activities. Visit Pennzoil.com/travel on to find participating locations. Pennzoil, make the switch. Travel on. Offer ends 11/30. Terms apply. Full details at Pennzoil.com/travel on.
Till the tears run down from my eyes, Lord, somebody, ooh, somebody, can anybody find me? Somebody to love.
Alexa, play hits from Queen.
Okay. Somebody to love.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
Should pregnant women get a flu shot? Sabrina Cupid reports.
A flu shot reduced a pregnant woman's chance of ending up in the hospital with flu by about 40%, according to a 6-year study by the CDC. Board-certified OBGYN Michael Rendell on why pregnant women need to be vaccinated.
Flu is more likely to cause severe illness in pregnant women compared to women who are not pregnant.
Getting vaccinated during pregnancy not only helps protect the mom, but also helps protect the baby from flu for several months after birth, before the baby is old enough to be vaccinated. Sabrina Cupid for CBS News, Atlanta.
Well, mom told you. Now scientists are backing her up. Don't pick your nose. According to a study in the European Respiratory Journal, researchers have proven for the first time that disease-causing bacteria can be transmitted manually via the nose and hands. We're talking germs from your phone, children's toys, any object, and even serious illnesses like pneumonia can be spread by dry contact from hand to nose. Jim Shanovy, CBS News.
Indeed knows it's
3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
A suspect was arrested in the hit and run that killed Aquana Kinsey on Lee Highway. Thanks to an anonymous tip given to the police, 49-year-old Corey Reeves arrested, booked into Hamilton County Jail. A child and his mother were shot in a drive-by on Faust Street Tuesday night. The police have confirmed they arrested 18-year-old Maurice Thurman Jr., charged with 2 counts of attempted murder. Police say the child who was shot was hit in the leg. Both the child and the mother are expected to make a full recovery. Mountain Creek Road in Chattanooga is undergoing a bit of a facelift. Drivers advised to use caution as a new roundabout is under construction in the area of Mountain Creek Drive and North Runyon Drive. CDOT says you have to yield for people in the circle and mind the speed limit, as speeding fines are massively increased in construction zones. Hamilton County Commission reversed course on that cell phone tower at Hurricane Creek. It's actually going to be approved. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Expect breezy but drier weather out there for your afternoon. Decreasing clouds will give way to some sunshine. Highs into the lower 70s. Tonight, clear, chilly. Overnight lows mid and upper 40s. For Friday, lots of sun, beautiful highs upper 60s. Looking good for Saturday as well. Get ready for the Wings Over North Georgia Air Show this weekend at the Russell Regional Airport in Rome, featuring the U.S. Air Force F-22 Raptor and A-10 Warthog. For tickets, wingsovernorthgeorgia.com. And I'm Swargene Quality Meteorologist Patrick Ford.
Radio 92.7. Listen to that. That's the sound of power and the call of the open road. That's the sound of the newly designed 2019 Indian Chieftain Limited. Yeah, Indian. It's more than a bike. It's an experience and an American icon. The place to find it, Indian Motorcycle of Chattanooga, along with their entire new 2019 line. The open road is calling. Answer the call. Go to Indian Motorcycle of Chattanooga. Just look for the sign on 153 and Nicola. Indian Motorcycle, the true American original.
Join We've Got You Covered with Scott Schrader every Saturday from 10 to 11 on Nooga Radio. From finance to fixtures, we discuss everything you need to know about buying or owning a home, the pitfalls, the perks, and everything in between. Saturday mornings, 10 to 12 right here on Nuga Radio.
For your small business, ending the year the right way can set you up for success come January. No need to let end-of-year panic set in. Easy Books and Taxes can help set up your books or new payroll service so that you can relax and enjoy the holiday season. With 35 years, bookkeeping, individual, and business tax preparation, it's easy. With Easy Books and Taxes, you run the business, we keep the books. Call us today at 423-755-0821.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. on Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Toulis.
The biggest participants in this business are states themselves, modern states, Tennessee and Georgia. The main product of this industry are children, and we're going to hear now a story about how this is taking place in North Georgia with the Division of Family and Children Services, vis-a-vis, that is to say, face-to-face against the family of a man who works in the building repair field. His name is Jesus Hernandez, and the story deals with two children he has with his late wife. Their names are Carlos, 16, and Liliana, age 12. Jesus' wife Rachel died recently, and the funeral is Saturday. And I met this gentleman getting fuel in my wonderful and amazing Hummer, the yellow Hummer with Sean Hannity's picture on the side. It's an amazing thing to go around in because people say, oh, you're in the news business. And in parking lots, I have many encounters with good, honest American people such as Jesus Hernandez. And I met also in that encounter there by the fuel pumps, Sarah, his sister-in-law, who was in tears telling about her sister, and the story that we're going to hear about next. And it involves this Division of Family and Children Services and the fact that Jesus does not have custody and cannot get custody of these children. Jesus, tell my listener, first of all, about Rachel and her death and how it is that you're having a fight with this bureaucracy. Tell just briefly about your late wife, Rachel, and your two children.
I was married, and me and her, we got divorced, but me and her, we got together, and we'd live together, and now the state of Georgia take the kids, and then want to give it to me because my legal situation. And that's one of the reasons I'm here for, and I just need help to get my kids back. I'm not a bad father, being with them forever, take care of my kids. And
so you have no custody of your children. The children, Carlos, 16, and Liliana were taken from you. When did that happen, and what was the reason given? Was this at your house? Where did this happen?
In my house. When that happened, it's in my house.
Where do you live?
I live in Roswell, Georgia, and
say what happened, please. Tell the story. Were you there when this happened, or was
I wasn't there.
Was Sarah, your sister-in-law, there?
My sister-in-law, she wasn't there, but she come over there. I was working in Nashville when I heard the news.
Now you're a foreman with AFS, the very well-known company that does basement repair, leak repair, sidewalk repair, straightening crooked chimneys, and things like that. Sort of foundational repair and maintenance in all around the Chattanooga area. I think originating in Huntsville, is that right?
Right.
And you're a foreman, and your crew go out to make these repairs. So now you were on a job in Nashville, and you got a call. When did this happen? This let's say this seizure.
October the 1st.
October the 1st. Okay,
Yes.
so they've been in. Where are these children now? Do you know what town they're in? With which family they
with
are?
family, but
Some other family, not your
yes,
family.
with some other
No
family.
relative of yours.
Yes.
Well, now your late wife Rachel, she was. I guess you're an American by having lived here for
21 years.
21 years.
Yes.
Okay, but there's a legal problem about that, but we'll get to that. But could not Sarah, your sister-in-law, have had these children, or could not other members of the Hernandez family or her family had taken custody of these children?
My brother-in-law, he's the one. Maybe he can take the custody for the kids.
So he's your best bet in having in getting custody from the foster system in Georgia. Well, okay. This is David Toulis, and we do thank you for tuning in to the show. We suggest that you love your neighbor and buy local, and the number is 800-8949. That's 800-8949. And the Child Protective Services Division of Georgia has information on its website, which is very moldy, and I'm not sure why. The form that I'm looking at is from 2016. This is on the government's website, and the data is from 2014. So we have moldy information. And it said that in that year there were 4,099 investigations open as a result of abuse or neglect referrals as of 2015. And this agency says is kind of a deck to this one-page info sheet. It says strengthening Georgia by protecting its most vulnerable children from the risk of abuse and neglect. And it is that's a sentence which has double meanings on several of the words. You understand it to mean it's good and favorable. We're protecting children and protecting individuals and strengthening Georgia. But what is being strengthened is the question, I suppose. What does protect mean? And what does vulnerable mean? And is there a second meaning for the risk of abuse and neglect? Because theoretically, anybody could be at risk. And since children are the product that are produced by these bureaucracies, there is an interest always in increasing the product, increasing its serviceability. And why, Jesus Hernandez, you are a foreman in the contracting field. What is the problem that the state says prevents you from maintaining custody of your own children had with your late wife, Rachel? What's the problem with you? What's your problem?
My problem is I wasn't married. I wasn't married to her. This is what they took the kids, and I'm the legal father.
You're the legal father.
Yes.
And but when she at the time of her death, she was your ex-wife because you had divorced with her, but you were cohabiting with her in your house. But so because you weren't the legal father, though you were the biological father, you were denied custody. Was there another reason, or is there another reason?
I don't know what's another reason.
Okay. Does it have anything to do with your status as a Mexican immigrant?
Yes.
Say something about that.
Because they told me, because you situation with you don't have your papers, you can have your kids, and that's why we're not gonna give it to you.
Because you don't have your papers, we're not gonna let you keep your own children.
Yes. This is what that lady told me on DFCS.
From DFCS. Okay, and that is, again, the Division of Family and Children Services, the leading child trafficking organization in the state of Georgia. So what can you do to remedy your lack of documentation? How do you do that? Do you have a green card? What kind of, what is your legal status here?
My legal status is just, I'm here because
You're here because you've been here for 21 years.
Yes.
You become an American effectively.
I don't know about that.
But are you, is it fair to say that you're not legal in Tennessee, in America, in the United States?
Yes.
Well, how is it you're not afraid to come on my radio show and talk with my listener? Are you not terrified of what could happen to you?
Yes, I'm scared.
You're a little scared?
I'm scared, but I just here for my kids, and I want everybody here that I love my kids, and I'll be there forever for my kids.
Mike, we got Mike Steele in the studio. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Without beating around the bush, thank you, David. What are they exactly asserting? What is the state saying that was so bad that they have to come in and kidnap your
What
kids.
have you done, Jesus Hernandez,
What are
that's
they
so
saying?
wrong and evil? We want to know.
I do nothing wrong. I just work for my kids.
You're a working
Take
man.
care of my kids, my family.
Are you on state welfare in Georgia?
Know me.
I mean, are people watching your kids? How old are they again? 16 and
They are 16. Carlos is 16 and Liliana is 12.
okay. Is there somebody at home with them with a 16 and 12-year-old? I don't think anybody has to be at home. We have 16-year-olds babysitting 12-year-olds. Are you at home with them?
Okay, Mike, you're asking Sarah, the sister-in-law, and
Yes,
she
are you
says
at
she
home with
doesn't-
them? Make sure our mics are on.
Yeah, you're right. Go
All
ahead.
the mics are on. Are you at home with the kids?
I didn't live with my mom. Actually, was staying in the home.
Were you there when they kidnapped them? The state of Georgia.
I was there when they removed them. Yes.
Okay, and did they have food in the house? There was
was food in the
electricity.
home. There was
Okay,
Were
so
there cockroaches running across the floor? No.
okay, so who from the state of Georgia kidnapped them, and what was their assertions?
They said that because my sister had sole custody and with his legal status that he could not get the kids, that they had to go into state custody before they could award custody to anybody else.
But he's been here 21 years.
I agree.
Right.
Yes.
So the 14th Amendment says if you set foot on the soil of America, you're protected by due process. So how is it fair to have, people that are supposedly here illegally follow one set of rules when one president's in, another set of rules when another president's in, another set? That's not a nation of law. That's a nation of men. And on top of that, where does the state of Georgia get off? I want to know this, Mr. Toulis. Where does the state of Georgia get off telling us they're protecting children when they allow abortion mills in Atlanta? Are you kidding me, state of Georgia, you big bunch of fat hypocrites? You're going to tell me you're protecting children? You big bunch of We've had their children stolen by the state, by the omnipotent police state, because we need to investigate this. And I don't want to hear as an excuse, your papers aren't in order. Who the hell? Around here and hold their feet to the fire and tell them to stop kidnapping children.
Right. It is called child trafficking, human trafficking, and the state government in Tennessee and in Georgia, Mike, they are the leading culprits. But because they're
big
government,
surprise there, huh?
because they're government, they are viewed with respect and reverence. And
Where's the
a bit of awe.
paperwork? Where's the paperwork saying why they stole the kids?
They just said that.
They just said it. No paperwork. Hey, we're taking your kids. If they did that 100 years ago, you know what happened 100 years ago?
I told the caseworker, I was like, why can't we deal with this after the funeral? Because right now, with everything that's going on,
They did this after the funeral.
The funeral is Saturday.
The viewing is tomorrow, and the funeral.
So
Saturday.
he lost his other half.
They took his kids the day after my sister
What a
passed
bunch
away.
of slobs.
Well, how do they find out?
Hey, by the way, I'm out of here, but you know the new state symbol on the Georgia flag is a big pig. Because that's what you are in Georgia. If you're going to do this to families, you're a bunch of pigs.
Well,
and we're not going to rest until we find out what's going on here. Okay? You bunch of creeps.
We'll see.
Thanks, Mike.
How DFCS got involved was whenever my uncle and my mom and everybody was calling me because I was closer to her. I pulled up and walked into her room and I seen her laying there and I knew she had passed. Well, all the cops pulled up. The cops are the ones who called DFCS. There was no reason for them to call DFCS. They called them immediately as soon as they seen her.
Why do police come up into a hospital when someone dies? I don't understand.
No,
that.
it was in her bedroom.
At the family house.
Yes. I pulled up and I seen her feet through the door and I knew she had
Well, I don't
passed.
quite understand how police got involved.
Well,
Sarah.
her daughter had called 911. My brother was asleep on the couch and her daughter had called 911. And before any kind of emergency services got there, the yard was covered in like 5 police cars.
Well, they have to do something. I mean, they can't just have. They can't be out there. They can't be out there arresting real criminals.
It took
Come on.
about a good 20 minutes for EMS to get there.
Let me ask your guest this, and then I'll be going. I thank you for this time, David.
Thank you.
You've been with your children for what, at least 16 years. Any problems within those 16 years of threatening to take them away?
No.
Okay, so you were denied due process of law. Aside from the fact that your papers are not in order, we need to see your papers. So no due process of law to determine whether or not they were actually in danger.
They wasn't in danger at all.
No due process. Yeah. You know, Americans, why are you putting up with this? Why? Why do you put up with this stuff? Oh, we just, because God puts government in the charge, and God, God, Romans, if you're a good Christian, we have leaders in authority. They put them in charge over us. Wake up. You know what? Anyone that says that, say that in front of me so I can smack you, please.
Right.
Say that in front of me so I can smack you. If I hear one more.
We have not Romans 13 government, but we have effectively we have a Revelation 13 government. So, Jesus Hernandez, how is it that your wife died? She died suddenly of an illness, or what happened?
I don't know. Yeah, until the autopsy.
We won't get the autopsy back until the investigation's over with.
Yes.
So her death is viewed as possible foul play or a crime.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is David Tulis, and we're talking with Jesus Hernandez, who has had his children taken from him. They're Carlos, 16, and Liliana. They were taken just the same day of their mother's decease. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you were in Nashville on that day. You were on a job you're a foreman at AFS, the Foundation Repair business, with much service done here in Chattanooga. From here to Huntsville. And we have also here with us in the studio Sarah, the sister-in-law of Rachel, the woman who died. Now, what kind of appeals have you made, Jesus, to try to get your children back? What have you contacted these officials? Do you have names and numbers? Do you have correspondence? How have you tried to make things right so that you can have them back in your house?
I got a lawyer, and he's working my case and try to get my kids back.
And so we have a case. It seems a case of child abduction by the DFCS in Georgia, Division of Family and Children Services. Now, you, my listener, if you are one who has a story like this, don't hesitate to contact me, David Tulis. Now, I'm a writer and a journalist. We're brought to you by Nuganomics.com, the platform, the web presence for the man or woman who matter. We look into cases like this, and often I'd say that when I get my mind to cover someone's problem, sometimes good things happen from it. And so here we have a story of a state seizing children in clearly in a case that might raise questions. It's not an ordinary. There's no allegation of abuse. Was there an allegation of abuse, Jesus Hernandez? Did they say you had done something wrong, or there's a pattern of poverty, no food, or abuse in the house?
No,
did you beat your children?
No, never beat my kids.
Did your sister beat their children?
No.
Them kids never got a butt whooping. I mean, if it was needed, but no, Jesus. No, they never. They're spoiled.
My kid is big enough now that can tell the truth to everybody if they have to.
This is David Tulis, and the number is 800-8949. That's 800-8949. You report, and the world decides. We're brought to you by Nuganomics.com. Make sure you go to my GoFundMe page. This is a show on a commercial radio station. It's a station that doesn't beg for money, but provides a terrific service for our advertising customers who want you to patronize their businesses, call their numbers, go to their websites, and realize that they are here to serve you. And so my GoFundMe page is a way that I can maybe make it good for the company. I can pay my way a little bit for my time on the show. We're at 1 o'clock every weekday. So, Jesus, tell my listener why you came to this country 21 years ago. What brought you here? Are you here with other members of your family in the Chattanooga area?
Yes, I just come with my brother, and 21 years ago, and so now I'm just try to stay away from everybody and all the murder they got in Mexico and kidnapping people. Same thing that the state of Georgia was doing with my kids, because it's not right. I should have come my kid the same day, and then they didn't take it away from me.
So when you came back from your job in Nashville on the day your wife died, did you see your children?
Not that day.
Had they already been taken from you?
That they took it 2 days later.
Okay, so you came back from.
They took it the next day.
Yeah, the next day.
They took your children the day after your sister's death. Okay, we're talking with two people here in the studio. Jesus Hernandez, who's an immigrant from Mexico, more or less an American, and his sister-in-law, Sarah, who's the sister of Rachel, the woman who died in unusual circumstances when her death was noted by a daughter who called 911. The yard was full of policemen. And 2 days later, after a report was filed with Division of Family and Children's Services in Georgia, the children were effectively kidnapped by the state government for their own protection. That apparently is the reasoning always. We will take care of children better than you and your family. And the one unusual twist in this case is that Jesus does not have documentation. And let me ask you this, Jesus, because you don't have documents, does that mean somehow that you're a lesser person, a less honest person, a less not a good person? No, right? No. You're just a working man, just like my right. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you, Sarah, for joining us. David, for listening to the radio. A very troubling matter, and Jesus Hernandez is looking for help to get his children back. A wrong clearly is in view here. David, for listening to the radio. And now, some messages.
3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news. Now.
Police say a young man who had just turned 17 fought them as they tried to cuff him. Officers say Tyree Benford and another juvenile broke into a home on East 48th Street, making off with TVs, Xboxes, and a laptop. Police were able to track down the suspects in the stolen property, but Mr. Benford wasn't going down without a fight. He eventually ended up headfirst into an anthill and was later treated for an allergic reaction to the bites. 3 people were shot just outside Cleveland State Community College. Police confirmed a 16-year-old suspect was arrested Wednesday night, charged with aggravated assault and attempted second-degree murder. Police spokeswoman Evie West said the 3 victims taken to the hospital, the severity of their injuries are not confirmed. And the state of Georgia saw an explosion of registered voters following the close of the window to register. There are now nearly 7 million registered voters in the state. Val St. John for Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Nooga Radio 92.7 FM.
Cash, 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 and more cash. Get 8.1% return on your money. Rick Davis can turn your cash into real money. Gold and silver bullion. American Eagle Gold. The banks give you a measly 1.9%. At Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, you'll get 8.1% return on your money. 8.1% return on your money. Wow! Whether you're buying an ounce or 100 ounces, Rick guarantees it in writing. 8.1% Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road, Chattanooga.
Let's face it, Old Faithful isn't as faithful as it used to be. Constant repairs are a hassle and can rack up quick in money and time. Landers McClarty Ford can fix that. Right now, you can get a 2016 Ford Focus, 34,000 miles, only $11,491. A 2017 Chevy Spark with only 17,000 miles for less than $12,000. A 2015 Volkswagen Jetta with less than 21,000 miles for $11,991. Yeah, browse their entire inventory of new and new-to-you cars, trucks, and SUVs online at Landers McCarty Ford of FortPayne.com. Landers McClarty Ford of Fort Payne. If you can't find your next perfect ride, they'll go find it for you. Big city selection, small town prices, friendly service, and top dollar for your trade. The savings are waiting and only a short drive away, so what are you waiting for? Get started with your personalized shopping today at Landers McClarty Ford of FortPayne.com.
Join Nuga Radio and the Gridiron Gang live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks at 10 North on the North Shore. We're talking all things high school football. There's a specialty brew or refresher weekly inspired by the game of the week. Sweet treats, extended hours all season long, and we're pet friendly. Portions of all proceeds support local schools and educational scholarships as well as after-school programs. It's football time in Tennessee. Join us every Thursday live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks, 10 North, your North Shore neighborhood living room.
Your home is a constant work in progress. Repaint the walls? Yeah, easy enough. Leaky faucet? There's a video for that. But roof repair? You might want some help. That's where Chattanooga Roofing Contractors come in. They have 3 generations of roofing excellence you can count on. Leave the ladder in the garage. Go to chatroofing.com. That's chatroofing.com for Chattanooga Roofing Contractors, a roofing company you can trust.
I'm Bo Watson, and I approve this ad.
Hi, I'm Nicole Watson. You may know my husband, Bo Watson. And beginning October 17th, you and I can go to the polls and begin early voting in Tennessee. When you vote, I ask that you elect the one person that believes in a better Tennessee. Bo has a plan of making jobs, education, and safety a priority for all of us. I ask for your vote to re-elect Bo Watson for State Senate.
Paid for by Friends of Bo Watson, Boy W. Watson III, Treasurer, votefortennessee.com.
Man, you sure you know what you're doing?
Yeah, I worked with my dad on his truck all the time. Just one more bolt to go.
Yeah, wrong bolt. Today's truck ain't your daddy's truck. For repairs on today's vehicles, you need Amco Transmission and Total Car Care of Chattanooga on Lee Highway. Stay on the road, not in the garage. Amco Transmission on Lee Highway. Get it done the right way. The Thompson Pet Way. Yeah, I just put that anywhere.
Join We've Got You Covered with Scott Schrader every Saturday from 10 to 11 on Nuga Radio. From finance to fixtures, we discuss everything you need to know about buying or owning a home, the pitfalls, the perks, and everything in between.
Saturday mornings, 10 to 12, right here on Nuga Radio.
Nuga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
Expect breezy but drier weather out there for your afternoon. Decreasing clouds will give way to some sunshine. Highs into the lower 70s. Tonight, clear, chilly. Overnight lows mid and upper 40s. For Friday, lots of sun. Beautiful highs upper 60s. Looking good for Saturday as well. Get ready for the Wings Over North Georgia Air Show this weekend at the Russell Regional Airport in Rome, featuring the U.S. Air Force F-22 Raptor and A-10 Warthog. For tickets, wingsovernorthgeorgia.com. And I'm SOAR Gene 12, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Moore.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Toulis.
We argue for local economy and free market. Near is better than far, small than big, simple than complex. And in the footnotes at 5-point type in Helvetica font, we have personal is better than corporate and physical than abstract. The number is 800-8949, 800-8949. Now, for something that I have long neglected, but which we're going to get caught up with today, and that is the peril that your cell phone, your wireless device, or devices are causing you, unbeknownst to you, with the dangers sort of tucked out of view, kept out of view by the combination of telecom giants and the government, all of which are, or both of which groups are in, you might say, in bed together, who are working together to have you properly surveilled and to have you properly fund their gigantic businesses. We have in the studio Margaret Johnson, who Margaret Jordan, who is going to tell us now about what you're going to tell me now about what I haven't really heard enough about. Margaret, tell my listener what, in a nutshell, what the main problem is with cell phone radiation.
Cell phone, when you put the cell phone to your head, it does something. It opens a voltage-gated calcium channel on the mitochondria and starts dumping calcium at the rate of 1 million ions per second. And it does a catastrophic damage over the body from the waves, not from heating. And that's what the companies are touting, that, oh, if you don't get overheated within 6 minutes with it half an inch away from your head, everything's fine. And that isn't true. The waves, the microwaves, actually cause damage. They affect the brain waves. If a child puts a cell phone to their head for 2 minutes, it takes 2 hours for their brain waves to go back to normal.
Does a child sense that? Is there any way a child can sense that something's happening with his thought processes or his sensations, or is it unsensible?
The child won't feel it or sense it, probably, especially in 2 minutes. Most people don't feel it in 2 minutes that are not sensitive. And so, no. But there is something that if you notice, a child can be more hyperactive and maybe even more aggressive if they're prone to that as a result of that time on the phone.
Well, how do these radio waves work? How do they? What are they, and why do they have this effect, Margaret?
Well, the way that we were made and created is electric, but it's a very low electric field. And what's the Earth has is 7.83. The Schumann resonance of Earth and us is 7.83. And these waves are way higher than anything that we were created with. And thus, when our body comes in contact with that, it starts doing a lot of damage inside.
So this is physiological damage, and it's on the cellular level, or is it
Yes.
on the DNA level?
Both. It affects the DNA as well.
How's that?
Well, it breaks up the DNA. Cause DNA damage, and it caused DNA damage.
So what is meaning what? What is that? What is the effect of that?
Well, then we come up with a lot of the diseases that are now. I have a list here that I like the way Lloyd Burrell is the first person on electric sense that actually helped me to start understand this. There's a lot of really good experts in the field, but Lloyd Burrell was the first one, and I liked how he said it. He said, if you would like to avoid these illnesses, then you need to stay away from the cellular. You need to protect yourself every way you can. He said, if you want to avoid cancer, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, depression, premature aging, epilepsy, autism, leukemia, brain tumors, sterility, that's a big one, insomnia, behavioral problems in children, tinnitus, that's ringing in the ears, and nervous system diseases, and much more. And I had a list of, I was getting pressure in my head, headache, which would be like a sharp pain sometimes, and mental confusion, brain fog, sluggish thinking, loss of memory, pain in my right arm, tension in my body causing me to clench my teeth. I didn't know what that was, but once I got rid of this stuff out of my life, that stopped happening. Whites of my eyes were red, and I didn't know it was from the microwaves, but now my eyes have returned to white. Pain in my chest, tinnitus or ringing in my ears, metallic taste in my mouth, and tingling in my feet.
Well, Margaret, tell my listener, first of all, when this happened and kind of who are you,
Sure.
where do you come from, and
Yes.
how did you get here?
I live close by. I just live just over the Georgia line in Cohutta. And in the spring of 2017, we were going on a family outing for a week. And I noticed the left side of my face was hurting really bad. And I thought it was my teeth. I called my dentist. He was out of town, so I couldn't do anything else. So we just went on the trip, hoping it wouldn't get terrible. And just sort of forgot about it because during the week, the pain went away. And, during that week, I was having too much fun with the people I was with. I didn't need to use the phone. When I came home, I returned to using the phone again, and the pain came back. And I might not have connected the dots, but someone sent me a message on the computer, and I heard Lloyd Burrell's story from Electric Sense, and he described how he had received pain from his phone. So I decided, okay, told my husband, let's try this. I'm going to quit using my phone for a while and see if the pain goes away again. And it did. And so that began my journey of investigating where all these microwaves were coming from. And I realized from what Lloyd Burrell was saying that was going to be the Wi-Fi, that was going to be the cordless phone, which is like having a cell tower in your house. And so the Wi-Fi went because that's part of it. So the Wi-Fi was gone now, and the cordless phone and the cell phone and anything that had to do with wireless in the house. And I began to feel better.
Well, now what is your background? Are you a farmer, or are you a businesswoman, or
well, I've been a
teacher?
I've been a caregiver for a lot of years, and I actually assumed that my right arm, the pain in my right arm, was coming from my caregiving, you know, tugging on patients. But when I discovered this, I found that no, it was not coming from that, and it is much better. And if I get around it, then the pain comes back. Because what happens over years I was using the cell phone, it was not even a smartphone, it was a flip phone for 17 years. And being in the environment I was with the Wi-Fi and everything, it accumulates in your body. And so it had accumulated to the point where I began to show the symptoms.
Well, what should my listener do? What recommendations do you have for him?
Okay. I have a good list here. How to protect your family. It's better to choose wired over wireless. Get a corded landline phone and forward cell phone calls to it. Use corded plug-in non-wireless connections for printer, mouse, internet, gaming, and routers, etc. All with the focus of, you know, getting away from the wireless and making sure that the wireless, even on sometimes like my laptop had wireless that it was searching for, and we had to turn that off because even though the Wi-Fi router was now not working anymore, we were hardwired, and a laptop can still be looking for wireless, and that will still put that in the environment.
This is David Toulis, caller live on the air with Margaret Jordan. What's on your mind?
Hi, Barbara. I hate to be chatty today, David, but I freak out when my girls put their cell phone in their blouse next to their chest, and
yes.
they won't listen. I'm like, are you guys crazy? This is the same frequency that you microwave your food in.
Yes.
It burns you from the inside out. I've been in the broadcasting business 45 years. It is that you do not want to keep that near your head. You do not want to put that near your body. There's many European studies that show the effects of it, but it's going to take, now you're very sensitive to it, most people aren't, but in 10 or 20 years, these kids are going to be feeling the effects of being microwaved. You've got to keep this phone away from you. Don't touch it all the time. Use a Bluetooth if you can, not all the time. You know, use it in moderation, and use your speakerphone. This is a device, you have to remember this. It's transmitting at a very high frequency, 2 to 4 hours.
Wait, say that again. You zoned out on us. Say that again, Mike.
It's transmitting to a tower 2 to 4 miles away. That's how much this thing transmits. And it's going through your body at a microwave frequency. It is very low power. However, the cumulative effect does change the DNA in your body. That has been proven. And now when you go to 5 gigabytes from 2.4, which are on some Wi-Fi systems, you're really talking about penetrating the body. So it's a matter of, you know, here's what it comes down to. 48 to 80,000 people a year die in car accidents. Are we willing to lose 48,000 people a year for the convenience of driving? And many tens of thousands of people will die of leukemia and other diseases because of technology. Are we willing to sacrifice those lives for technology? It's a trade-off. And that's an independent individual decision.
Well, what is it, Mike? Let me ask either Mike or Margaret Jordan. What is it in these rays that is so bad? How is it that it changes the DNA? What does change in DNA mean? Is it always bad that it changes? Is it wrong?
Yeah, what it does is it actually changes it. The signal gets in there. It's like a nanotechnology. These waves are so small that they actually cook your body. When cooking your body changes your DNA, so it actually cooks your body from the inside out, like cooking a chicken in a microwave.
I think,
like I said, it's not as high amount of power, but it changed the model. We transmitted 20 cycles. The human brain transmits at 20 cycles. These are transmitting at 2.4 gigahertz, which is much higher. So everything has a wavelength. Everything, even something that's inanimate has a wavelength. And especially if you get on the harmonic of that wavelength of the human being, which would be 60 cycles, you're going to directly impact the way that person feels, the way they think, and even the chemical composition of their body. It just depends how close to that unit you are. If you're transmitting 50,000 watts, you know, there's signage up, don't get anywhere near this tower. If you get 6 feet away from an AM station that's transmitting 50,000 watts, it will arc over and kill you.
Okay, thanks very much, Mike. We're talking with Margaret Jordan. Margaret, talk to my listeners some more about steps that my listener can take to reduce the damage of wireless radiation.
Okay, I think one of the best things that you can do, especially if you can't have the wireless removed from your house, that it at least should be off at night, because there's a really interesting phenomenon going on here. Probably a lot of you know, especially if there's a health professional, you know that we understand that light at night keeps your body from making melatonin. Well, the body also does not make melatonin if you have any microwaves on in the area, because your body believes that the lights are on. So if you have your cell phone on near your bed and it's pinging that tower every few seconds, then your body cannot shut down and make melatonin. And without melatonin, your body has a hard time getting rid of free radicals, which then turn into making inflammation in the body. And that's what comes about to make a lot of the diseases that we see coming from this. So the best thing is to turn off anything wireless while you're sleeping. Put your phone on airplane mode. Then you can still use an alarm clock or read it, but it will not ping the tower. You won't get any text or voice message, so you won't get any calls, but you'll be protected while you sleep. So the best thing I know then is the things that help the most are distance from wireless. And I don't believe that anything, as far as I've looked at all the protection things that people say, pendants and all kinds of stuff, and there's no scientific evidence that stuff works. I haven't found anything on that order. So the best thing you can do is do everything you can to stay away from Wi-Fi, wireless, cell phone when it's not necessary. And one of the best things also is when you're in the car, don't you make a phone call. Wait till you're out of the car, because inside the car is like you're in a Faraday cage. And it just bounces those signals around much more while you're in the car. And Bluetooth, really, it puts it right there in your head. And I have enough damage, and I want to live, and I want to be able to enjoy life. And so I would rather do without the convenience of a cell phone than to be sick. So I just want to tell you that the big on the melatonin issue is really good. And when you look at what melatonin does in the body, melatonin is 5 times more effective than vitamin C at getting rid of free radicals. And so if you can get some good sleep without anything in the area there that's going to affect it with the microwaves, then you'll be making melatonin, because people who get cancer are 5 times more affected, people who get cancer are very low on melatonin. And so I want to increase my melatonin. I want to sleep good, and I want to help my body's defenses so that I won't get cancer from. And I'm just really thankful that I got to feeling it the way I did, because my situation didn't turn up with cancer. And then that's happened to my friends. I have a friend now who may not live because of cancer in his head because of his cell phone. I have another friend, 25 years old, had testicular cancer, had to have surgery. He was sleeping on top of the Wi-Fi, and he'd been carrying the cell phone in his pocket and had a game machine in the room, even off, put out a horrible amount of microwaves in the room. And we checked it, and we talked to them, and they said now they're turning the Wi-Fi off at night. At least do that. So my recommendations are just do everything you can to hardwire, and if you're not going to be receiving a phone call, then please put your phone on airplane mode to protect yourself, because it should not be in your bra. It should not be in your pocket because it's putting a lot of radiation and it causes a lot of damage.
Well, Mike, when he called, said that there are European studies indicating damage from cell phone radiation and not American studies. Why is that? Why are there not American studies available?
Well, I do know that the school I'm going to is called Building Biology, and the gentleman who wrote this book that David was holding up is a building biologist, and he was one of my teachers in my recent school. And his book is excellent on the whole subject.
I'm holding it up for you here on Facebook and also on YouTube. The title is Exposed, the Electronic Sickening of America and How to Protect Yourself, includes dangers of the 5G and smart devices. His name is Bill Cadwallader, MBA and MRS. He's a certified electromagnetic radiation specialist, it says on the cover. So
there really are experts in America, the ones that were being quoted. Yes, there's a lot all over the world, and I think more out of the U.S. than in the U.S., but there are doctors and there are people here in the U.S. that do understand this, and I'm beginning to find them and to learn more from them about what to do to help people like me.
Now, do you give a presentation publicly,
yes,
Margaret, or do you have?
Yes, I'm going to give.
How do you get the word out about this problem?
Well, I've been really excited that there's a health seminar going on. It's called Taking Charge of Your Health, and it's going to be at Collegedale Municipal Building in the West Room this coming Sunday. And my presentation is called Technology on Trial, and it's going to be from 11:30 to 1 o'clock. Basically, an hour and a half is what he's given me. And then there's other presenters, and he's actually starting the whole thing there at 9 o'clock, and it won't end till 7 because there's other people that have good things to say as well. But I'm really excited that he allowed me to speak on this. And so I'll have my own presentation plus part of a DVD that's coming. That's called Generation Zapped, and it was done really well. And you can go on YouTube and find it. The lady did an excellent job. It's really describing this whole situation.
My name is David Toulis, and we're at 800-8949. That's 800-8949. And Margaret Jordan is here, going to be giving a speech on Saturday.
No, Sunday.
I'm sorry, Sunday in the mid-afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Right, at Collegedale Municipal Building.
No, it's 11:30 in the morning.
11:30 in the morning.
Right.
In the Adventist world. She brought into the studio several books, including another one I want to mention. I trust it's has been of use to her. It's called Currents of Death, Power Lines, Computer Terminals, and the Attempts to Cover Up Their Threat to Your Health by Paul Brodeur.
Yes.
And
he's a really accomplished writer. He wrote things about asbestos and other things as well.
Now, if you're just joining us, we're hearing from Margaret Jordan about the danger of cell phones, particularly because they emit 2.4 gigahertz of energy, which is much higher than the body's electrical energy. Margaret, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
David Toulis, brought to you by Nuganomics.com. And also, make sure you go to GoFundMe. And tonight at the Starbucks on 10 North Shore, 10 North, there's the Gridiron Gang Show. And that starts live at 7 p.m. Drop by for a coffee and a brew and listen in perhaps, or just take some time relaxing at the Starbucks at the Gridiron Gang Show tonight.
3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news. Now.
Police say a young man who had just turned 17 fought them as they tried to cuff him. Officers say Tyree Benford and another juvenile broke into a home on East 48th Street, making off with TVs, Xboxes, and a laptop. Police were able to track down the suspects in the stolen property, but Mr. Benford wasn't going down without a fight. He eventually ended up headfirst into an anthill and was later treated for an allergic reaction to the bites. 3 people were shot just outside Cleveland State Community College. Police confirmed a 16-year-old suspect was arrested Wednesday night, charged with aggravated assault and attempted second-degree murder. Police spokesperson Spokeswoman Evie West said the 3 victims taken to the hospital, the severity of their injuries are not confirmed. And the state of Georgia saw an explosion of registered voters following the close of the window to register. There are now nearly 7 million registered voters in the state. Val St. John for Nuga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. on Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio 92.7. Nuga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
Expect breezy but drier weather out there for your afternoon. Decreasing clouds will give way to some sunshine. Highs into the lower 70s. Tonight, clear, chilly. Overnight lows mid and upper 40s. For Friday, lots of sun. Beautiful highs upper 60s. Looking good for Saturday as well. Get ready for the Wings Over North Georgia Air Show this weekend at the Russell Regional Airport in Rome, featuring the U.S. Air Force F-22 Raptor and A-10 Warthog. For tickets, wingsovernorthgeorgia.com. And I'm Sorgene Twelve, Chief Meteorologist, Patrick Ford.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Buying a home is one of the most exciting things you will ever do, but it can also be scary and nerve-wracking. I'm Melanie Moore, owner and certified master inspector with Full Disclosure Property Inspection. Let me help calm those nerves by putting my 37-plus years of experience in the construction and inspection